Number 1. Mini Black Hole. In Treehouse of Horror 23, the town of Springfield begrudgingly builds a particle reactor instead of a baseball stadium and creates a tiny black hole. It swallows up a few residents before Lisa moves it to her basement for safekeeping. Despite Lisa's warning not to throw anything into it, the family does exactly that, causing the black hole to grow bigger. It becomes massive and swallows everything in its path, taking the townsfolk to an alternate dimension, where aliens worship the trash they disposed of in the hole. Black holes are scary enough on their own, let alone if one were to pop up on Earth, already surrounded by matter it could consume. So, hopefully, this prediction never happens, or we wouldn't know what hit us until we were spaghettified. This is an actual scientific term describing what would happen if you fell into a black hole. You would be stretched infinitely thin as you were pulled across the event horizon. And since time is affected by gravity, it would last an infinite amount of time. Spaghettification, your new word of the week. Number 2, time travel. People assume that time is a strict progression from cause to effect. But actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, tiny-whiny stuff. The Simpsons have dabbled with time travel many times over their 31st seasons. But in Treehouse of Horror 5, we get a glimpse of what is commonly known as the butterfly effect. I know Ashton Kutcher's ears just pricked up when I said that. Time travel could have insane implications on the human race. There are multiple theories on how it would work. Maybe if you went to the past, you would create an entirely new timeline where things are different. Or maybe nothing is able to be changed at all because time is constant and what has happened has always happened. Number 3, the dome. The main plot device in the Simpsons movie comes in the form of a giant dome encapsulating the entire town of Springfield. This happens after pollution has led to mutations in local wildlife, not just the three-eyed fish near the nuclear plant. Stephen King actually released his novel-turned-TV series, Under the Dome, in 2009, 2 years after the Simpsons movie debuted. Could this be another prediction? While the idea is incredibly silly, we have seen in the past few years that quarantine can become a reality for us, albeit without the impenetrable dome. But who knows? Maybe in the future, this could become a real thing to stop environmental disasters from getting out of hand. It's like catching a hurricane in a bottle or something ridiculous. I know, but let's just hope we never have to use it.
Number 5, teleportation. In Fly vs. Fly, the second story in this episode, Homer buys a teleportation pod from Professor Frink for 50 cents. A damn good deal if you ask me, but maybe too good to be true, as the rest of the episode shows some of the terrors that could come with this tech. Instantly arriving somewhere else on the Earth after simply stepping into a pod has been a dream of many scientists for centuries, and the practical applications would change society as we know it. And there have been some crazy advancements, like the Chinese scientists who teleported particles to a satellite in space. But in the episode, we get a warning of the dangers that could lie ahead, with reference to the classic science fiction horror, The Fly. We see the loyal Simpson pets, Santa's Little Helper, and Snowball 2 becoming merged together Cronenberg style, and Bart gets the idea to turn into a superhero with the power of flight by merging with the Fly. Clearly he didn't see what happened to Jeff Goldblum, but life, finds a way, and Bart and the Fly switch heads when their DNA is merged together, leading to the horror show of what the family has to deal with. I don't know about you, but I don't plan on mixing my DNA with any other creatures, so until that's sorted out, I'll stick with the TARDIS thing. Number 6, French fiasco. The French have been an ally to the Western world for the entirety of modern history, but in Treehouse of Horror 8, all of that is thrown out the window, when Mayor Quimby makes an apparently offensive frog's legs joke, and refuses to apologize, telling them to do their worst. Even Marge joins in on the jabs by saying, you know how unpredictable the French are, one minute they're kissing a woman's hand, the next they're chopping off her head. Well, the French president didn't take too kindly to this, and starts a war by launching a neutron bomb that levels the town, leaving Homer as the last person alive in all of Springfield. And we all know that leaving Homer alone is a terrible idea. Now, it should be painfully obvious why France launching missiles aimed at the US would be something we don't want to happen, but that's not the only scary prediction from this episode. Number 5. Teleportation. In Fly vs. Fly, the second story in this episode, Homer buys a teleportation pod from Professor Frink for 50 cents. A damn good deal if you ask me, but maybe too good to be true, as the rest of the episode shows some of the terrors that could come with this tech. Instantly arriving somewhere else on the Earth after simply stepping into a pod has... Number 7. Robot Rebellion. Them Robot was the 17th episode of the 23rd season, and in it we see Mr. Burns replacing all of his employees with robots except Homer to save costs. But one seems to be developing a personality when it understands Homer's working hard or hardly working joke. Homer eventually messes with the robots so much that they ignore the laws of robotics and attempt to kill Springfield residents. Obviously, this would spell disaster in the real world, as it does in the show, and we're moving towards more and more automation in the workplace, allowing humans to work less dangerous jobs and eventually allowing us to hopefully spend more time living life than working our time away. But we are nowhere near that point yet. The Simpsons dabbles with the idea a few times, like in the episode Itchy and Scratchy Land, where the animatronics gain sentience and attack parkgoers, a la Five Nights at Freddy's. AI gaining sentience has been the device of science fiction horror stories for such a long time, but it's becoming closer and closer to a real-life issue. Heck, there's even a robot named Sophia with AI so advanced that she was granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia. I don't want to deal with real-life Cybermen when the Cyberium takes over, so maybe we should slow down on the whole giving robots consciousness. Number 8. Hologram trees. The episode Lisa's Wedding from season 6 takes place in 2010, 15 years from 1995 when the episode was released. And unsurprisingly, many of the predictions of the future have yet to come to pass, like Big Ben being replaced with a digital interface. But one that we should definitely not want to happen is the hologram trees that we see. While the thought of being able to switch from coniferous to deciduous at the drop of a hat is pretty fun, if they're just aesthetic, we could be in a world of trouble. Trees filter CO2 from our air and give us back oxygen, which is pretty nice of them. And unless the holograms have some CO2 scrubbing tech to come with them, replacing real ones with projections will have a dramatic impact on our atmosphere. We can already see the beginnings of this with deforestation, so let's focus on our real arborist friends rather than holographic ones. Subscribe buttons if you're enjoying the video so far. Number 9. Virtual takeover. I'm a lover of VR. You know, my headset probably gets the most use out of all of my gaming consoles, so I love the idea of VR becoming more immersive, and we're making some huge strides, like haptic technology that allows us to feel things happening in the virtual world, or full body and face capture technology to allow realistic bodies and movement in games. But one thing that is yet to happen that could be on the way is a mass adoption of VR on the scale of what happens in season 28, episode 2, where Mr. Burns discovers VR and the whole town of Springfield is using it to a point of near societal collapse. While virtual reality allows for some amazing things to happen, and augmented and mixed reality have some more practical, non-gaming applications, it's not out of the realm of possibility for us all to be walking around with some sort of crazy device strapped to our heads in the future that allows us to change the world we see. But the implications of losing touch with reality can be massive, and the episode proves it. So let's hope that if VR takes off like I think it can, that we keep our feet on the ground and in touch with the real world around us, and take the goggles off from time to time, or we'll forget to take care of our actual reality. Number 10. Interactive holograms. The season 11 episode Bart to the Future has been one of the most mentioned Simpsons episodes when it comes to predictions. It helps that it takes place in 2030, which at the time I'm recording this is still 8 years away. If YouTube is still around then and you're watching to see if any of these came true, let me know in the comments. I promise that I'll check. The episode most notably correctly predicted that Donald Trump would become president, but there were some other things that have yet to happen that could mean trouble for us in the future. In the beginning of the episode, Bart is watching Itchy and Scratchy, the gory version of Tom and Jerry, but instead of on the TV, he is watching a 3D hologram. Well, these are close to becoming a reality, with the likes of Tupac and even Homer himself being shown as holograms on stages. A 3D hologram that is interactive is far from our capabilities right now. The scary part of this is when blood gets sprayed all over the walls of the Simpson home from the cartoon. While the idea of an interactive hologram is cool, in practice I think that it could provide some real nightmare fuel.